All right, here we go. Recording in progress. Got it. Okay. We had started Ofen Hashvi yesterday. Right? Ofen Hashvi, Cheshvan HaNefesh Shal Adam last Yachis Elokoh B'chol Kotav. Do you relate? Do you deal? Do you relate with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in all of your pratim and everything 24/7 as an Eved? You have to make Cheshvan HaNefesh. Take a good look at your day. In other words, they have to be derish from yourself. You have to fulfill towards Hashem the same obligations that an Eved needs to fulfill Klapi his master. Again, I did not look there. You have to make a cheshvan nefesh. As far as these obligations, how do you do it? You have to give thought, you have to be explaining to the constant good that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does to you. Everything you need, any toyelis you need, everything you need, he prepares for you. He has mercy. Gives you all the food you need. He doesn't let you take care of your own stuff based on your weak seichel. So I saw over here, I grabbed this, I did look in the English one. I did now, I looked at it yesterday. Yes, okay. Show me what page. Where is number 7?
Number 7 starts on page 20, but I don't know where we are. Like,
okay, I'm on page 20. But okay. So on page 21, he says, one should think of them when he realizes the constant favors of the Creator on him and preparing what is beneficial to him, having compassion on him, always providing with the food he needs. Then what it said over here by us, neither did God abandon him to himself, in parentheses, he adds here, during his childhood. What's it, TH?
Probably Tov HaLevavos, I imagine.
Tov HaLevavos. When his understanding was weak in the proper way to conduct his affairs. Right? At that point of your development, when you take a human child is not capable of taking care of his stuff, and he bestowed him with wisdom, intellect, understanding to conduct his affairs, and Hashem grants the person seichel. It's not what he had at the beginning. And through that, he'll know his obligations towards Hashem. I'm your servant, so give me wisdom, give me bina, and I know your testimony. When a person comes to appreciate, to know, recognize the tremendous good that Hashem does to all the aspects of him, he also gives thought to the fact that Hashem sees him constantly. He's always watching him. And he knows everything about him.
Hello.
Yeah. And he guards all his movements and binds them with his bonds and rules over them. So the ML, what's that? Marpel Nefesh, it's that all his movements are bound to the will of Hashem, like clay in the hands of a potter. Thus we are in Hashem's hands. That's what he means. He's saying, the case of Shumanaso, Boychan Isa Bamashu Noisan is Abachiv, the Stamish Bebar, the Hatis, Rayon of the Fee, Hashpos, Yitzre Hatoiv, or Yitzre Hora. And he also contemplates how Hashem tests and checks him with what he granted him, his free will, on whether to use his limbs and turn his thoughts towards his good inclination, or whether he turns them towards his evil. Hashem is watching us. And Hashem is watching us to see how our choices. He gave us that choice, even though everything really is in Hashem's hand, but he gave us the ability to choose. And to see how now we're going to do it from Mispainim B'Mashishan Nasan Loi, Lono es Terasai, and his Mispainim in this, a person gives thought to this, that Hashem gave us his Torah. Lamed Oisan is a Dvarim Hem L'Ratzin L'Fanav. Oh, that's Hashem. A person's Mispainim that Hashem gave us the Torah in order to teach us what's Ritzayin Hashem. Otherwise, we couldn't make choices. We didn't know what's the Ritzayin Hashem. Because everything we have to do, it's not our definition of good. Our definition of good is Ritzayin Hashem. We have to be careful that we don't fall into the trap of that the street perhaps sells us good, not good. I mean, today it's not so hard because what's going out there is really wacky. So
with regards to what?
What?
Like, wacky with regards to what?
Wacky and what makes sense? You know, what's makes sense and what's good. Everything's acceptable today in the world, right? And there are plenty of people who would seem to be intellectually endowed that choose very strange behaviors, very strange decisions, you know, and we need a Torah, we need something objective that's going to tell us what's good, what's Ritzayin Hashem. That's the same thing. Whatever's Ritzayin Hashem is good. Whatever's not Ritzayin Hashem is not good. And we can only know that from the Torah, right? Not so long ago, and now recently again in England, right? The courts paskin to pull the plug on some child or something. It was brain damage or something. You know, the parents are begging them not to do it because it's compassionate. Our Torah is not like that. You know, our Torah is like that, so it's not good. It's not called compassion. And v'chulu, all the things that going on around. So we need a Torah. We need a Torah in order to make the proper choices. We need something that's going to tell us what's the proper choice in every given situation. And what are things that are going to cause Hashem to be angry on us? And then, based on that knowledge, he'll use all of his limbs, his whole body, and all his koiches nafshe, his emotional strength, to do things that through that we'll find favor in Hashem. Right? Because this is all based on because of the fact that I realize all the good that Hashem does to me, it takes care of me. I'm mishabed myself. I become a meshubed, I become a slave, I become a mechuyev to do Ritzayin Hashem. And by doing these things, there also seems like there's also a gain for us personally, that because of doing these things, Hashem will bring us close to Him. Hashem, and He'll remove from us foolishness, that blind us, that don't allow us to see all the benefit Hashem does to us. We'll fear Hashem, we'll have busha in front of Him, and we'll love Him. And I'll have a tshuka, a desire to do Hashem's rachon. Let me just see what he says over here. Okay. Because when a person does that, they'll bring upon him great good and great light from Hashem. As it says, Hashem bar panechi aleichon, v'nema yorah Hashem panav elecha, v'chuneko. V'ikra kol. Okay, this is really where we were up to, if I remember. The main thing of it all is Shisnai Kapel Kol B'chol HaPratim K'mayev. All of this is supposed to bring you that I act is to complete the conditions of slavehood and to designate God alone with master. Shisnai Kapel Kol B'chol HaPratim K'mayev. There's only one master, believe Shalom Beneman, my whole heart. Now cause that your love to Hashem will be great as Shalom and Hashem's love to you. You've chosen, you've designated today Hashem to be your God and go in his ways, etc. And then the pasuk says the other side, Hashem Hashem designated us to be his Am Segula. Tizcha Elyon HaKol put us above all the nations. Sha'osa l'sila l'shem u'l'sifaris. He brings it from the Mount Nastoka. I guess we can see it in English. It says over here that I'm going to love Shlema. So the Maskal explains, what does this mean wholeheartedly and faithfully? He says, the intent here is not to do external deeds which demonstrate slavery. Rather, one must feel slavery in his inner being truthfully and faithfully. I define myself. Not just I'm just going to go through the acts, but I really define myself as being an Eved Hashem. But Hashem knows what's in one's heart, and then he will come to love Hashem, and also Hashem will love him. What does it mean? He quoted the pasuk that the purpose is to put us above. There's that Rashi, just last week's parsha, 2 weeks parsha, that the Eved of a king is also a king. Right? You know what I'm referring to? He brings a few examples there. Rashi brings a few examples. Okay, he's saying because we know that the importance of an Eved in people's eyes is dependent on how great his master is. If you're an Eved of a great king, so that makes you a great. Right? People respect you more also, even though you're just as Eved. You're an Eved of some poor king or something, so that's what you are.
People act. I don't. Does that make sense? It's like, oh, like wow, he's the king's servant, like big deal. Like nobody, Eved as in slave, right? Not as a butler.
No, but the fact is that it's a status also. It's a status also that you would chose to be his slave is a status also of a great king. You get to serve the king.
When they signed the Abraham Accords, now wherever the king from Bahrain didn't go, he sent one of his one of his people, dignitaries, I guess, like he's like the servant of the whatever the king, and
a dignitary is not a slave. A dignitary is a job.
That's what that's the Eved. That's the he was doing his he was filling, representing.
Again, maybe you're picturing, what's going on in the South in America, a few hundred years ago, whatever,
It's gonna rise again.
as a slave there. It's not like that here because he's saying that if you're there, I said in the last paragraph, right? It becomes that you're loving Hashem and Hashem loves you. It's a relationship. It's not just that you're, another dog in the barn. The evidence here we're talking about is that he's connected to the master, right? And he's brought close to the master. That's what we had said. So therefore, such a person does have status. The king chose him. Now, he didn't choose him in the market, in the slave market, and he chose him because of his value.
It sounds like more like to me like you'd be hired rather than that. Like, wow, you got hired by the king to do X. That's chashuv. But as a slave.
Okay, but your relationship is still to him as a slave. You're choosing that. Again, you weren't sold on the market. You're choosing to make yourself, you're bonding yourself to him. I want to serve him. And when you want to serve him, he reciprocates, and there's a relationship. And if that type of slave will have a status. If you're going to picture the slaves, in the South, where they were just, they didn't care. They were just no better than the dogs. So then it's not, you're right. It doesn't matter who your master is. And he's saying, being that Kodesh Baruch Hu is great among all the nations. Okay, that's how Hashem, that's what the Navi says about Hashem. Va'am Yisrael hu achi koreh ve'lov mikol am. And among all the nations, Hashem, Klal Yisrael, is the closest to Hashem. Ve'ben kulam bacha rak boi la'aviroisei. And amongst all the nations, Hashem chose, right, just Klal Yisrael to serve him. Therefore, the logic is to be proper. According to this, that our level and glory be above the other nations. So here he says, let's look at it in the Hebrew because we'll come to Hebrew. He quotes the Matnas Chelkai on this. Page are we on? This is a CD. Yeah. We're doing Shvi, right? Yeah. He says here. When you see a person wearing a uniform of the general with all kind of medals, right? So it's obvious to everybody that he's a very important person. Still, in order to really know how important he is, you have to know whose army is he leading and like what nation. My principal, my 12th grade Rebbe, Chaim Siegel's at top. He was married to a Sternbach. Come back and he used to laugh. He says he sees all these generals with medals. He says, but they haven't fought a war for the last 200 years. Like Switzerland hasn't fought a war. Like, for what do they get these medals? So the fact, haLevavos is saying, the fact that the guy's wearing a general's uniform and has medals, first you got to find out, like, why did he get the medal? What war did he fight? What nation is he representing? He might be representing some small little nation down in Africa, and they all dress up, but it doesn't still mean that he's very important. So you're talking Shuhat Savashla is a Irtana. He may be the general of some little city, Nidechas, some out somewhere. The Soifa at the end of the world, so that person really has no importance. So because the greatness of the Sarnim dead is Fihamadina. It's measured based on what country he's a servant in. Va'am, and the nation, Va'amel Shemino Aleim. And the king that appointed him to this position, based on the value and the importance of those who gave him this, who appointed him general. And depending on the strength of that rulership. L'dugma, imanosi shal America. Says, for example, now I don't know if he would still say it today, but if the president of America appointed him to an important position, right? Made him the general, the 5-star general. Harry Miyatzig Medina's America. So he's representing America. And if America is important, so he's important. Is a Shevet Medina's Africa. So I'm attacking some African tribe.
Why are we attacking Africa here?
If he puts on, he has this little glitter and the gold and the, and it's a club, it doesn't mean it, it's meaningless. Because who is he representing? And his importance is as per who he represents.
But who's judging the importance of that area? So you can be very important to the people who are living there. Is it what the general populace of the world who they consider to be important?
Listen.
I mean, I bless the rains down in Africa, but
as much as we might have to say about America, it's still quite a great country, very powerful.
Oh God, no.
Right? Unlike some little tribe in Africa that they're still, using bows and arrows. They're less. That's all. I'm not talking about inherently as a person, a better person. I'm talking about as a country, that country doesn't have much to say in anything.
Yeah, Rabbi, I have just a general question. I've been thinking lately, it seems like some of these a lot of the Mishalim that we bring down, like about kings and Avodim and stuff, they don't it doesn't really fit into today's I guess social culture. So there has to be some kind of I mean, I see what Ramatishio is doing to try to put it into today's context, but I think it would keep on we keep on like harping back, oh, he's saying king, he's saying slave, like it doesn't sometimes I think we need to explain it in context.
I hear what you're saying.
Today's.
So go ahead, help us.
I'm asking.
That's a two-way street. Hello.
The king, like a king is someone who like people had a very strong emotional attachment to it, one way or another.
And it was very powerful. Right? A true king, had all the power in the world. Today, you're right. Our kings aren't kings either. Right? I mean, you get to. I mean, it's yeah. Look, you have Queen Elizabeth, right?
Even our presidents are like, we talk about them.
Well, because look, a little hard to respect them.
Yeah.
But they still are powerful people, right? They still have a big army behind them, and they can make very big decisions. And the world is still revolving. Might be out of hand and out of whatever, but the world is still revolving about their actions. Actions carry weight. Right, so maybe we have to talk, about, like you're saying, a president and a general, not a king and a servant, to make it a little more. When the president sends,
like when Ghazal said, like imagine standing in front of a king. Right, Gnosky's trying to say something. Hold on, we don't hear you.
You're not,
You're muted.
you're muted. Raganovsky, you have to unmute. Very good, Pinchas. You're doing
Anyone
great.
has control.
Yeah,
Anyone has
I'm just saying that the part of the problem with the Yom Noraim is we lose the idea of Malchus of Hashem because we don't know Melech is.
Right.
yeah,
That also. You know, I think I said over that there's this in Eretz Yisrael somewhere, there's this Ger Tzedek from Africa, that he was a prince, son of the king. And he looks at us and he can't understand how they can tell him about Yom Noraim. We're not trembling. He says, in his, I don't know, again, in their tribe, wherever he was, when you approached the king, you crawled on the floor and you trembled because that was the king. That's how, that was
even today, when you go to Queen Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth has no power. They give you a booklet of how you're supposed to behave when you see her.
Yeah, but they can't tell you to be afraid of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they still macabre her.
Right, right. But she doesn't have the power that a king could have had to chop off her head. You looked at him wrong. Your head went rolling. So it was, even by Jewish kings. Right? If by David HaMelech, if you're married by Malchus because you referred to your general as Adoni in front of the king, that's why I'm saying he was Chayiv Mesa for that. You're talking in front of the king. You don't refer to someone else as your master.
Okay, so we have to work on that a little bit.
We have to talk about it. But I hear what Simcha's saying. We have to find in the English translation the terminology that we're used to using. I hear.
All right, Yeshakayach.
Okay, we'll stop here. Okay, what's
See you
today? Yeah,
tomorrow.
tomorrow.